She always wanted to be a good mother. It's a feeling every mother knows, a fierce, primal need to build a shield around their child. But she did her job too well. Her shield became a cage. She built a fortress of love around her son Liam, brick by painstaking brick. Now, the walls are so high she can't see the sun, and the gates are locked from the inside. Now, she's the one who's trapped. He doesn't just love her, he thinks he owns her. And tonight, he's coming to claim his prize. She's hiding in his room in the dark, and she can hear his car pulling into the driveway. This story is her confession, and it might be her only way out. It took her 10 years to have Liam. A full decade of silent tears, of hollow smiles at other people's baby showers, of those pitying looks from family that felt like tiny, sharp stones. Where she came from, a woman's worth was measured by her children. For 10 years, she was worthless. Her husband, bless his heart, was patient, but the pressure in their home became a physical thing, a third person in their bed. When the doctor finally said, "You're pregnant," it felt like the world had clicked back into place. Liam was born on a Tuesday, screaming and perfect. The moment they put him in her arms, something fused between them. It was more than love. It was a completion. She looked at his tiny, wrinkled face and made a vow. She would never let anything or anyone hurt him. She would be his shield, his shelter, his entire world, if she had to be. The world had been cruel to her. It wasn't getting its hands on him. Those first few years were a blissful bubble, just her and her boy. Her husband worked long hours, relieved to leave the parenting to her, and she was happy to do it. She reveled in it. Liam was a quiet baby who only ever settled for her. He nursed for longer than other babies, a fact that made her secretly proud. He slept in their bed, curled against her side, his tiny hand wrapped around her finger. Her husband eventually moved to the guest room, muttering about needing sleep for work. She didn't mind. She had Liam. As he grew, their world stayed small and perfect. Why did he need play dates with strange kids and their judging mothers? Their toys were covered in germs, their words careless. She could teach him everything. They had their own games, their own language of soft murmurs and knowing looks. He was her little shadow, his hand always in hers. If he tripped and scraped his knee, he only cried for her. She'd scoop him up, kissing away the tears and whispering, "It's okay, my love. Mama's here. Mama will make it all go away." Family tried to step in, of course. Her sister-in-law once offered to take Liam for an afternoon to give her a break. A break? From her own heart? Liam screamed, a raw, terrified sound, and clung to her leg like she was a monster. A part of her felt a surge of pride. See? He needs me. He only wants me. She politely said no, and kept saying no until the offers dried up. She told herself she was fostering a special bond, something other, less attentive mothers couldn't understand. She didn't see it as overprotective. She saw it as complete parenting. She didn't realize that by shielding him from every scrape, every mean word, every tiny hurt, she was preventing him from ever learning how to heal himself. She was making her love the only medicine he would ever take, forging a dependency so deep it became the architecture of his soul. She wasn't just his mother, she was his sun. And she was burning out any chance for other stars to shine in his sky. The first real threat to their perfect world was kindergarten. The thought of sending him into that loud, chaotic place filled her with a cold dread. It felt like a betrayal. For 5 years, she was his everything. Now she was supposed to just hand him over to a stranger for 6 hours a day. That first morning was a nightmare. He didn't just cry, he howled. He clung to her with a shocking strength, his face buried in her dress, his little body trembling. The teacher, a kind woman with tired eyes, tried to gently pry him away. "It's okay, Liam," she said with a practiced smile. "Mom's always come back." Liam's head snapped up. He glared at her, his face a mess of tears and fury. "She's not a mom," he shrieked. "She's my mama." Then he did something that stunned them both. He lunged and bit the teacher on her hand, hard. The shock on her face curdled into pain. Elara rushed forward, pulling Liam back, her heart hammering. But the words that came out of her mouth weren't an apology. They were a defense. "He's just scared," she snapped. "You were pulling at him. He's sensitive. He's not used to being handled by strangers." She took him home, ignoring the principal's inevitable call. She rocked Liam, soothed him, and told him he was right to be scared, that the teacher shouldn't have touched him. She was validating his aggression. She was teaching him that any threat to their unit should be met with violence. This became their pattern. Any problem at school was always someone else's fault. A kid who wouldn't share a toy was cruel. A teacher who corrected him was unfair. She would march into that school, a tiger defending her cub, and calmly explain why Liam was special, why the normal rules didn't quite apply. She thought she was his advocate. She didn't see she was his accomplice, dismantling any authority in his life but her own. The lines at home, already blurry, dissolved. Bath time was still something they did together, long after other kids stopped. He was 6, then 7, then 8. She'd wash his hair while he chattered about his day, telling herself it was just their special time. It felt normal to her. She didn't register, or refuse to register, that she was cementing a kind of intimacy that was deeply wrong. Teaching him he had unlimited access to her. That no part of her, physical or emotional, was off limits. She chose to ignore the flicker of unease, that little warning light in her gut. She just cut the wire. Her husband tried to step in. Once. He came home early and found them in the bath. He just stood in the doorway, his face impossible to read. Later that night, he tried to talk to her. "Elara," he started gently. "Don't you think he's getting a little old for that?" Her reaction was instant and vicious. "Old for what? Being close to his mother? Are you jealous? Is that it? Jealous your own son prefers me?" The accusation hung in the air, ugly and unfair. He looked wounded. "That's not it," he said, shaking his head. "It's not normal. He needs boundaries. He needs to be a boy, not a little husband." The phrase "little husband" hit her like a slap. It was grotesque, and because it touched a raw nerve she didn't even know she had, she lashed out. She accused him of being a distant father, of trying to poison the only precious thing in her life. The fight was awful, and it carved a canyon between them they never crossed. After that, he just gave up. And in his absence, the fortress she was building became a kingdom with 2 thrones, one for her prince and one for her. She sees now that every choice she made, every battle she fought for him, was just another stone in the wall of his prison and hers. Every time she told him he was right and the world was wrong, she was feeding the monster. If her story is making you think about the thin line between protection and control, you should stick around. There's more to this. The worst was yet to come. Adolescence should have been when he pulled away. Instead, he pulled closer, his grip tightening. Their house grew quiet, tense, ruled by his moods. He stopped having friends over. If a classmate called, Liam would give a one-word answer and hang up, his eyes locked on her face, gauging her reaction. It was like he feared another voice in the house might dilute her attention. Any relationship she had outside of him became a betrayal. A phone call with her sister was cut short by Liam suddenly needing help with homework only she could provide. An invitation for coffee from a neighbor was met with a sudden illness that required her to stay home. She remembers one afternoon, Mr. Okoro from next door, a sweet old widower, asked for help with his garden. She was happy to help, and they stood by the fence, laughing about a stubborn weed. She felt a prickling on her neck. She turned and saw Liam, now 15, standing at the living room window. His face was a mask of thunder. He wasn't just watching, he was glaring, his jaw tight, his eyes narrowed. It was a look of raw, adult fury. It sent a genuine chill down her spine. Later that evening, he came into the kitchen while she was making dinner. He didn't say a word. He just picked up a water glass and squeezed it until it shattered in his hand. "Liam!" she screamed, rushing over as blood welled in his palm. He didn't even flinch. He just kept staring at her with those intense eyes. "He makes you laugh," he said, his voice a low growl. "I don't like it." As she wrapped his hand, her own hands trembling, she should have been terrified. She should have seen the threat for what it was. Instead, she rationalized it. He's just so protective. He loves his mother so much, he can't bear to see her with anyone else. She was mistaking a glaring red flag for a banner of his love. He started commenting on how she dressed. "Why are you wearing that, Mama? It's too bright." "You don't need makeup. You aren't going anywhere." He became the gatekeeper of her life. Her husband was a ghost in their home by then, a silent observer who ate his meals and disappeared. He saw what was happening, but she had taught him that trying to intervene was pointless. He chose peace, and it left her alone on the battlefield with their son. The role reversal was complete. She was no longer his mother. She was his possession. He'd ask where she was going, who she was talking to, what time she'd be home. He was acting less like a son and more like a possessive husband, and she, trapped in a web of guilt and twisted love, let him. She had wanted to be his whole world. She just never thought he'd one day demand to rule it. The breaking point came a week after his 18th birthday. They'd bought him a used car, a desperate hope that it might be a key to the outside world. Instead, it just gave him a longer leash to circle the house. That night, her husband's brother, Ben, came for dinner. He was a kind, jovial man who had always tried to stay connected. He brought her a bouquet of lilies, her favorite. Liam watched from the doorway as she took them, her face breaking into a genuine smile for the first time in what felt like years. The storm gathered in his eyes. He sat through dinner in sullen silence, sucking the very air from the room. When his Uncle Ben got up to leave, he gave her a brief hug at the door. "Take care of yourself, Elara," he whispered, his eyes full of worry. The moment the door clicked shut, Liam was on her. He didn't shout. It was worse. He walked over to the vase, pulled out the lilies, and with a calm, deliberate intensity, he shredded the flowers with his bare hands. "Stop it!" she cried. "What is wrong with you?" He turned to her, his face eerily calm. "What's wrong with me?" he asked, taking a step closer. He was a man now, taller than her, stronger than her. The thought hit her like ice water. "I'm the only one who has ever loved you properly, Mama. I'm the one who protects you." "Protects me?" she stammered, backing away until her back hit the wall. "From what? From your uncle? From flowers?" "From everything," he hissed, pinning her by placing his hands on the wall on either side of her head. The sweet smell of crushed lilies was suddenly suffocating. "From them, from Dad, from everyone who wants to take you away. They don't see you like I do." Her heart was a frantic bird beating against her ribs. This wasn't protection. This wasn't a child's love. This was possession. It was wrong. That old psychological theory, the Oedipus thing you read about in textbooks, it was no longer a theory. It was standing in her living room, trapping her against the wall. "Liam," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you're my son." He smiled, a slow, chilling curve of his lips that never reached his eyes. "I'm more than that. You made me more than that. You made me the man of this house. You can't be surprised when I decide to claim what's mine." He leaned in, his breath warm on her cheek. "Dad is weak. He let me have you, but I won't let anyone else have you. You're mine, Elara." He said her name, not Mama, her given name. Hearing it from his lips, in that moment, with that terrifying intimacy, it was the final, horrifying blow. The monster she had so carefully raised was finally showing his true face. She hadn't raised a mama's boy. She had raised her own replacement. She ran. She fled to his room, the only place she could think of, and locked the door. She heard her husband shout, then a sickening thud, then silence. Liam's voice came from the other side of the door, calm and steady. "It's okay, Mama. He's just sleeping. It's just us now. I'll give you some time, but this is our home. You can't hide forever." He left then. He took his new car and he drove away. That was 2 hours ago. But now she hears the crunch of gravel in the driveway. He's home. The monster has returned. She spent her life building a fortress to keep the world away from her son. And all she did was trap herself inside with him. There's nowhere left to run. He's coming to claim what he believes is his. And she's the one who told him he could have it all. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please give the video a like Share what you learned in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more enchanting tales like this one. Thank you for being part of the journey.